Hi friends, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to talk about books. I have, I believe, 16 or 17 books that I'll be discussing, so this could end up being a long video. If you like it, please subscribe and hit the like button. One of my goals is to get more into doing book reviews because reading is life, essentially. If you're not into my style or whatever, find another creator that you do like. I really like the book reviews of Carter Sullivan. Maybe you will too. I will link her as well as most of the books I'm going to discuss today, and a few other bits and bobs and things in the discussion or in the description box. I may need to pause the video repeatedly today, so if you see little jumps or whatever in my position or the way I'm talking or whatnot, that may be why. I do have the tail end of some COVID-19 symptoms, and I'm coughing and clearing my throat a lot. I am on the upswing, thankfully. The past 2 years have been really hard on me in terms of my health. Had a lot of various challenges and things that I'm trying to work through. I have been blogging about those on my blog, Thriving or Surviving, which I'll link in the description box as well. I also will link my reading blog, Caffeinated While Reading, in the description box. But anyway, get yourself a beverage and sit back and let's get into it. This mug is one of my favorite mugs. It's from a shop in Sacramento that I will link called Strapping Store. An incredible woman-owned, queer-owned gift shop, independently owned. And Susan, the owner, would be thrilled to have you stop by in person or her website. I will link that as well. Just gonna link all the things as one does on YouTube, correct? I know I'm gonna get some questions about what's behind me, so I'll just talk about that also. And if you hear some crunchy, chewy kind of noises, my dog is on the floor right here chewing on a dog toy. She may hop up on the couch with me at some point and do a little cameo herself. If she does, I'll introduce you when we get there. Anyhow, this poster right here, Ski Mount St. Helens. If you know, you know. You don't ski Mount St. Helens. I was 6 years old when Mount St. Helens erupted in 1980, so you can do the math and figure out how old I am. My uncle had this clipped out of a newspaper and laminated and hanging in his basement for years and years. When he passed away, it was one of the things I wanted to keep. I'd always loved it, so I got a frame for it and put it up on my wall. Often people look at it and they don't quite get it at first, and then you see the realization dawning and they start to laugh. Ski Mount St. Helens, hottest slopes in the West. This snail, it's a beautiful picture up close. Let's see if I can get us in closer. Oh, getting lots of reflection, unfortunately. There we go. The snail made up of flowers. That actually was a greeting card that somebody sent me years ago, and I loved it so much I framed it. This is a portrait taken of Big Sur, California, by my grandparents' friend in the 1960s. I have two of them. They're, along with the Ski Mount St. Helens poster, some of my most favorite items. They were hanging in my grandparents' house while I was growing up, and I always admired them. And when they passed away, it was one of the only things that I really wanted in terms of possessions. I wanted my grandparents back, of course, but I took these. And then other family members have the rest of the set. And then these two pieces, they're paintings, well, prints of paintings done by my friend Mary Ann. She's an extremely talented painter. These are scenes from San Francisco. I will link her social media, and if she still has a storefront, I will link that in the description as well. Her style is very realistic, hyper-realism, but she also does other styles as well. And she does process painting videos, which I love. They're very calming. And her travel videos and her sense of style are also on point. Marianne's a great person, and I hope you'll check out her art. Anyway, I'm going to take another sip of my coffee, and let's jump into this. The first book I'm going to talk about, I will have to put an image right here. It's called Jar City. I don't have the book in front of me. I read it as an ebook from my library. The author's name is escaping me at the moment. I should have been more prepared. Um, but it is an Icelandic name that I probably would butcher. I am going to definitely butcher a couple of the author's names today, but we'll be doing our best. My name is Malea. It's not an easy name. People mispronounce it all the time. So I do try to be aware of that when it comes to other names, but sometimes it can't be helped. Anyway, Jar City. This book is Nordic noir. It is very dark. It is very grisly. It's murder. It's rape. There's a child death, although the child is not assaulted. The child dies of a brain tumor. There's a mystery. There are family mysteries. There are community mysteries. There are mysteries that go back several decades. It's very dark, both in the sense of the theme of the book, but also throughout the book. The settings are dark and described as being dark. The weather is very rainy, and it's a time of year where it's darker in general. There's less daylight. They're in deep, dark, dank basements, things like that. It's a very good book. If you like that type of mystery, the main character is grumpy. He's a single man who has messed up his own family, but has a little redemptive moment with his own daughter, his troubled daughter. I really enjoyed the book. I'll probably read more by this author and probably more from that series because it is a series involving the main character, the detective. Um, let's see. I just finished that one yesterday. I read it very quickly, 2 days, which is interesting because my health has not been great and I've been struggling to focus to read, which tells you that it must have been pretty good if I was able to read it when I'm really struggling to focus with my reading. I do read multiple books at a time, but usually only two or 3 to 4. This past week I've had 6 going at once, and like I said, I've got 16, 17, maybe 18 that we'll be discussing today. Anyhow, moving on. The next book that I recently finished, Let's Talk About Down There by Dr. Jennifer Lincoln. I got this at the library, but it also has a little inscription by her. Because shame has no place in understanding how a body works. Dr. Lincoln, March 2024. I picked this up as well as one of the other books I'll be discussing to read and review for my podcast and blog called Let Me Tell You About My Period. The goal of that podcast and blog is to destigmatize anything and everything around menstruation and to generally support the health and well-being of people who have periods. This book isn't exclusively about periods, but it does talk a lot about periods. It talks a lot about female anatomy. It talks about period products. It talks about birth control. It talks about different pros and cons of birth control and period products. It talks about understanding your anatomy. It's written in a Q&A fashion. The top of each page has a question, and then there's a brief answer. Most of the answers are only a page or two long. There are some charts. There are some illustrations throughout. Overall, I really enjoyed this book. I did know most of the information that was in here already, but I also have sought out a lot of this information intentionally, both through working in healthcare as my day job, but also for my podcast and blog that I am doing with my friend Liesel. So most of what was in here was not new to me. However, if you have questions and you don't know who to ask, you're too embarrassed to ask a friend, a family member, or your doctor, this might be a good place to start. It's a great resource, very easy to read, very quick to read. You don't have to read it start to finish. You can go to the table of contents, find the question that's most relevant to you, and just go directly to those pages. It's an easy book to dip in and out of as needed. Highly recommend. All right, this next book I got because I'm working on learning Spanish. I'm probably going to butcher this now that I am putting myself on the spot. Estoy aprendiendo español, pero muy lentamente. I'm learning Spanish, but very slowly. I don't hear very well, and so sometimes hearing the way things are pronounced is very difficult, and my pronunciation is horrible. Often when I try to speak Spanish, even if I have all the correct words and they're in the correct order and they're in the correct form. My pronunciation is so bad that sometimes I'm not very well understood, and it's partially a hearing issue that I have, but I'm trying. I can read more Spanish than I can speak or understand when it's spoken to me, but one of the ways that I like to practice, besides using Duolingo and apparently Google Translate now has a practice part of their app, is to seek out Spanish materials, whether that's podcasts, movies, TV shows, but also books. I picked up this book, Auto Amor by Laura Chica. It's basically a book about enjoying your life, finding ways to enjoy life more. I believe this says discover what you love and live a beautiful, it's basically you discover what you love and live a beautiful life. That's not the exact translation, but that's enough of an idea for you to know what this is about. There are sections that are like, full length pages like normal, but there's also these smaller blurbs. I find it helpful to sometimes go through and just try to translate the smaller blurbs when I just have a few seconds. But we will see how this goes. I am excited to get into this. I'll probably try to focus on one page a day, maybe. Some of the pages I will explicitly try to translate word for word and try to build understanding of grammar and things like that. Other pages I'm probably just going to try to glean meaning. The actor Bradley Cooper, I saw a clip of him speaking French recently, and he was saying that it's more important to try to communicate than to try to get the grammar and the vocabulary exactly correct. Those weren't exactly what he said, but that was the idea. He was like, communicating and making mistakes is better than just not even trying, right? And that has been my experience when I've traveled. I've only had one negative experience when it comes to language, with a lady in a grocery store in France saying, "Oh, Americans never speak the language," when I couldn't understand her very rapid fire French. Once she slowed down and repeated herself, I understood her, but she just didn't like that she was speaking so fast, and I had to ask her to repeat herself, and I didn't know how to ask that in French, even though I had greeted her in French. Otherwise, I've had lovely experiences, even with horrible foreign language skills. If you're curious, I'm working on Spanish, French, Turkish, and Norwegian, which seems like a lot, but I'm enjoying it, so I don't really care if it doesn't work for somebody else. And yeah, let's move on to what I'm currently reading. I have 4 books that I'm currently reading. Like I said, I tend to read multiple books at a time. This first one I started quite a long time ago with one of my book clubs. I ended up being sick and not going to the book club meeting, but I also hadn't finished the book yet. I ended up having to return the book because there was a long line of people waiting for it. I just got it back from the library yesterday, so I can finish it. Chain Gang All-Stars. This is a near future, somewhat dystopian novel about the justice system, about the prison system, the prison industrial complex, about prisons for profit, about prisons for profit and entertainment. Think modern prisons for profit crossed with gladiator matches. It's an interesting novel. I think I'm about halfway through this. I'm looking forward to getting back into it and finishing it. My friend Liesel really seemed to enjoy it. So it'll be fun to finish it and be able to discuss it with her. It is a little bit on the thicker side. But I do enjoy longer books. I believe this one is, let's see, this one is 363 pages for this particular edition with normal size print. I am almost done with this one, another one for my period podcast. Welcome to Your Period. If you know somebody at the beginning of puberty who is likely to have a period, or who cares about people having periods, this is the book. This book is so good. I wish this book had been around when I was going through puberty, when I was starting to have periods. It is straightforward. It is written to meet multiple people at multiple levels, at multiple places in life. They use both medical terminology and lay terminology. There's a big practicality aspect to this book, like the other one about Let's Talk About Down There. You can dip in and out. You can find the topic you need and read just about that, or you can read it start to finish. This is a do-it-yourself adventure, choose your own adventure sort of style book about periods and puberty. It's extremely inclusive, not just in regards to gender, but also to ethnicity, to learning differences, to bodily differences. I love this book. It is very well written. It is written by both a layperson and a doctor together. It talks about the embarrassing parts of having periods. It talks about the practicalities of being at school or trying to swim. It talks about how to talk about your period. It talks about birth control. It talks about so many different things. But it's probably the inclusivity and the approachability that I like best about this. It is extremely empowering without pandering, and it does acknowledge that periods can be hard to talk about while supporting that we should be able to talk about them without it being hard. Welcome to Your Period by Yumi Steins and Dr. Melissa King. Please go and get this book for the menstruators in your life, especially if they haven't had their first period yet. If you're not sure how to talk to your young person about their periods, this book might be the help that you need. Can't say enough about this book. I will be doing a deep, in-depth review of this book on Let Me Tell You About My Period on our blog and the YouTube channel associated with that later this week. All right. This next one, The Littlest Library, if you know, you know. I got it at Costco by Poppy Alexander. A woman, her family members die, and now she finds herself alone. She sells her home, moves to a small cottage in the countryside, but there's a catch. There's a telephone box out front, and whoever owns the cottage is responsible for doing something with the telephone box for the town. She ends up turning it into a small library. This ends up being a little more controversial than she would expect. She finds throughout the book, she worries about being alone, but there's a lot of found family in this book that I really like. There's a rom-com element that I'm just getting to the beginnings of. There's a lot of different personalities in the book. I'm really enjoying this one, although I am finding it hard to focus, maybe because it's kind of got a lot of tropes that go along with a lot of rom-coms. It is good, but just right now, not really making my brain fire very well. I will keep reading it. I'm just dipping in and out here and there when I need something easy or fast. The Littlest Library, Poppy Alexander. And then this next one, Inside the Wolf by Amy Rowland. I just started this 2 days ago. If you like Flannery O'Connor, if you like, I can't think of her name, Kingfisher. If you like Southern noir, Southern Gothics, you'll probably like this. If you like mythology, storytelling, folklore, folk tales, you might like this. It's modern, it's contemporary, but the protagonist is an expert in folklore, folk tales, mythology, and things of that nature. She returns home to the family farm after being away in the city. There is a theme involving a wolf, but I've just gotten started with this, so I'm not very far into it. I am very much enjoying it. I think I'm going to really love this. I think once I get a little further into it, I'm not going to be able to put it down. And also, the cover is just beautiful. I love the cover. It kind of reminds me of, is it Eric Carle that does those animal books with the beautiful covers? You can see the fox legs behind the plant, the flower up here. Okay, that's what I'm planning to read and what I have read and what I'm in the middle of reading. Or actually, not what I'm planning to read. What I'm planning to read is coming next. This pile's big. I've split it up into a couple of groups. One, books related to book clubs I'm in, books that I just want to read for various reasons, and then some nonfiction, not necessarily books that you read straight through. First, we have a classic, Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret by Judy Blume. If you read this book when you were younger, like me, you may notice that the cover looks a lot different. It looks like a text message thread, right? Judy Blume went back through several of her books and updated them as technology changed. She There was an interview with her, and if I can find it, I'll link it. She has talked about how um, you watch a movie or read a book or something from decades before, and the technology doesn't really make sense. Like now, somebody might read the original version of this and be like, why don't they just call their friend from their cell phone when they're walking home? Why aren't they just calling their parents from their cell phone when they have a problem? um, Judy recognized that cell phones and things like that and modern technology exist. And so her books should reflect those to stay relevant and to stay current. So she has updated this. I'm excited to read it. I kind of would love to go get an early copy of it and compare the two, but I'm not going to do that right now. I am reading this along with my blogcast partner, Liesel, and our friend Angel. We might rope in our friend Priscilla as well, because this is like, classic coming of age, first period puberty lore in the United States, right? We are going to do a mini podcast episode after we read this and after we watch the movie version. Very excited about this. I probably haven't read this since I was, I don't know, a late teenager. This was one of the few books that my mom didn't really want me to read. Otherwise, we were a pretty open household when it came to reading. I think it was more about a little bit of embarrassment on my mom's side when it came to periods and period talk. On this Blueprint for a Revolution, I plan to do a read along of this on my blog, Caffeinated While Reading. I don't know how to say the first name. I think it's Serja Popovic or Popovich. I'm not 100% certain. But Blueprint for a Revolution, how to use rice pudding, Lego men, and other nonviolent techniques to galvanize communities, overthrow dictators, or simply change the world. This is a look at revolutions, at protests, things like that throughout the world that have worked well using unconventional means. As it says, rice pudding and Lego men. What do those have to do with protest? Join me and find out. I have read this a couple of times before. The last time was probably 5 or 6 years ago, so now seems like a good time to reapproach this. I do plan to do it one chapter probably every 2 weeks on Facebook. You can find the link below or go to Facebook and search for Caffeinated While Reading, or go to my blog, caffeinatedwhilereading.blogspot.com, to follow along on this. One of my other book clubs is reading Joe Nothin's Guide to Life by Helen Fisher. I just love that cover. I don't know anything about this book. We'll see how it goes. I love the book cover. I have loved every book that this book club has picked out, so I'm pretty sure I'll enjoy this one as well. Joe Nothin likes the two parts of his name separate, just like dinner and dessert. Mean Charlie at work sometimes calls him Joe Nothin, but Joe is far from nothing. Joe is a good friend, good at his job, good at making things and at following rules, and he is learning how to do a lot by himself. Joe's mother knows there are a million things he isn't yet prepared for. While she helps to guide him every day, she's also writing notebooks of advice for Joe, of everything she hasn't yet told him about life and things he might forget. By following her advice, Joe's life is about to be more of a surprise than he expects. Joe loves predictability, but his life is about to become a surprising adventure. I love that. Sounds great. And I love that they carried these little star-like things up to the back. Excited to read this. Another book club. Yes, I'm in more than one. I don't go to every meeting of every book club. This other book club is reading The Book Thief by Markus Zusak. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly. I've read this numerous times. It is one of my all-time favorite books. I love this book so, so, so much. With my private tutoring students, if we're reading over the summer and they need something to read and they're at a point where this is either just right or maybe slightly challenging or even slightly easy, I love to read this with my students. There's so much to talk about. There's so many layers to this story. It's a great one. I'm really looking forward to revisiting this one. I'll probably read this pretty fast because I am so familiar with it already. Normally, I kind of like to take my time and read leisurely, at a leisurely pace. I can read very fast, but I don't enjoy it. why did we decide that reading really, really fast was really, really important? Anyway, this next one is part of a nationwide reading challenge for this summer. Check your local library. You might be able to get a copy of this fairly easily. My library has unlimited ebook copies. They Called Us Enemy by George Takei. I think it's Takei. Is it Takei or Takai? This is a graphic novel about his life in an internment camp. Um, as a young person. It is not in color. It's all black and white, but I think it's going to be pretty good. It also feels very timely given what's happening in the world, many parts of the world right now. Um, this, because it's part of a nationwide program, you should be able to find this very, very easily through your library. If you can't, ask them to get on it and get copies. There are going to be events throughout the country around this book all summer long. All right, the next two I just wanted to read just because. This one, Life on the Bridge, Linking My World to Yours as an Autistic Therapist by Kaylin Partlow. I think it's Kaylin. I follow her on Facebook. This young woman is pretty extraordinary. She is autistic and faces a lot of challenges as an autistic person, but she also wants to show that it shouldn't, being autistic or having some sort of difference shouldn't hold you back. She challenges herself to try a lot of new things. She talks about what does and does not work. She talks about what it looks like when she's struggling. She talks about what it looks like when she's doing well. She talks about the importance of diagnosis. She talks about the importance of different therapies. She talks about support. She talks about lack of support. She's a very interesting person. I love her Facebook posts. I love her videos. She recently went to a Lady Gaga concert and really surprised her with how much she enjoyed it. Anyway, I'm really excited to read this. I, in my private tutoring, work with a lot of autistic and ADHD and autistic ADHD students, as well as students with other neurodivergences. And a lot of what she says in her videos and her posts really resonates with me and really fits in well with my approach with my students, which is highly unique to every student, by the way. I do not use a cookie cutter method. If you have any interest in that, or if you have a student or you yourself are extremely shy and introverted or really just struggling with figuring out how to get around in the world, I don't just do academic tutoring. I also do social skills tutoring and coaching and support. I will put a link, like with everything else, in the description box. All right, the next one, the title got me. This title just made me laugh, and it reminded me of two of my other favorite books. Those two books, An Elderly Lady Must Not Be Crossed, and I can't quite read the title on the other one, but there's two books by Helene, I think it's Helene Tursten, that are just so funny. They're Swedish. They're about an elderly woman who goes out and commits murders, and it's hilarious. So when I saw this one, it reminded me of those, so I'm hoping this will be just as good. I'm Not the Only Murderer in My Retirement Home by Fergus Craig. I think the title pretty much speaks for itself. I'm looking forward to reading this. I have a feeling I'll read this quickly. I'm very intrigued. Very intrigued. I mean, elderly murderers. What's wrong with that? What could go wrong? All right, the last four books I have are not novels or autobiographies or anything like that. These are more just for my personal interests, indulging some of my nerdy side. I love art. I love art history. I recently watched the TV show Homeland with Claire Danes and Mandy Patinkin and so many other great actors and actresses. A lot of it takes place in the Middle East, and the art of the Middle East is just so beautiful. And it's just so special. And I could say a lot politically, but I'm really worried about people in the Middle East for a variety of reasons. But I am also, part of me is worried about the art and architecture and what is being lost in all the bombings and things that are going on right now. I thought I would indulge a little bit and get some books about art from the Middle East. I have one now, and I have another one that's on hold with the library that I'm waiting to come in. This is Palace and Mosque, Islamic Art from the Middle East. I mean, look how beautiful that is. I do have some craft related stamps that look a lot like some of the mosaic patterns that you see in the Middle East. So after I get through this book a little bit more, maybe I'll get some into bringing out those stamps and doing some projects. But I mean, look at that. So pretty. These have, a lot of the patterns have a lot of special meanings. Oh, gorgeous. Okay, so that's one of them. I love creating art. I love painting. I love mixed media. I love working with paper. I am not very good at painting, but I want to get better and I want to be able to incorporate painting into my art. So I have Creative Watercolor and Mixed Media, a step-by-step guide to achieving stunning effects by Anna Victoria Calderon. I mean, look at that. Isn't that pretty? I would love to be able to paint things like these and not have them look like a total mess. There's lots of projects throughout, lots of stunning pictures. She does start with some very easy to follow instructions. I am looking forward to working my way through this. It may take me a while. Thankfully, my job, I was quite a while ago, I was laid off, and I've gone through a couple of other jobs, and the job I have now gives me a lot of time off. So I may use some of that time off to work through some of this in the following weeks. We'll see. Maybe I'll film some of it. And then the next two are cookbooks. I love to cook. My kid loves to cook. Our roommate loves to cook. All of us love to cook. Our kitchen is tiny. It's minuscule, but we make it work. So this past summer, I was in, or actually not summer, in November, I was in London, England, and I have a severe dairy allergy, and I just kind of naturally tend to eat vegan without thinking about it. But when I travel, I look specifically for vegan restaurants or restaurants with vegan options because it's just so much easier to navigate than explaining my dairy allergy and having to risk mistakes and whatnot. I found this restaurant called Mildred's. I believe it is all vegan now, although at one time it was just vegetarian. Oh, the food was so good. I still think about the food. I still think about the decor. I think about the staff. I think about the whole restaurant. I'm going back to the UK in the end of July and the beginning of August. I can't wait to take my friend to Mildred's. It was so good. We're going to go to Mildred's as well as a creperie called Suzette. I will link both of them in the description if you have a chance. They are both divine. I have not cooked anything out of this cookbook yet, even though I've had it for a few weeks, partially because I just haven't felt well. But this weekend I am off work and I plan to get into it. So good. So good. And then everybody in my house really enjoys Japanese, Chinese, Thai, Indian. Those are all very different cuisines, but we enjoy all of those. And we enjoy Japanese culture a lot. We all want to eventually someday go to Japan. So I found this, Konbini. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly, but it's basically a cookbook inspired by Japanese convenience store food, which, if you've ever seen it, Japan's convenience stores are living in the future. There's various sandwiches that often are called sandos instead of sandwiches. There's various bowl type dishes. There's all sorts of things in this cookbook. Again, one we haven't tried any of the recipes out of, but I'm really excited to get to trying them. So that is my book chat for today, and I hope you'll come back and see the next one. Thank you. Bye.